firstly, we'll go a world away to Super Rugby, where a lot of stuff happened in the last couple of weeks.
Totally.
I suppose.
Well, listen, I just want to start because we can't cover it in any kind of way that anybody else can. We're not in a position to be, highfalutin or giving pointing words and thoughts. But it was a terrible. The Christchurch attack was just a terrible, terrible thing.
Yeah. That
put a dampener on the whole weekend.
Definitely
in fact,
did,
and it was on everybody's heads, even in the Ireland-Wales match. As much as we were talking about everything from a rugby perspective, it's a horrible, horrible thing that's happened to a great rugby town in a great rugby country full of those values of respect and tolerance. And like, one of the great things about the sport, especially over there in the South Pacific, is how cultures come together and adapt one another, adapt to one another, and take things from one another in a like nice way. And it's all about sort of coming together as one and seeking the best from each other. And it was just, that attack was just it was anti everybody that's decent and good, everything that's decent and good in the world, but especially anti rugby values of sort of equality and diversity and all of that.
Cowardly and shameful act. And it's hard to even we would be remiss to obviously not mention it, because it did colour the whole weekend. There was obviously minutes silence that was observed at each of the games.
Crusaders and the Highlanders called that game off.
Actually called their game off, called it a draw, which is it's mad, to be honest. And I never heard the like of it, but hope everyone's alright over there. Any of our fans over in Christchurch, sorry to hear about it, but just I suppose to move on to the rugby though, because there's not to be done.
And life has to be
exactly.
You can't let them win.
You can't let them win. It's right. Exactly right. But there were other shows in town. The Chiefs played out in New Zealand. There was a good derby match between Chiefs and the Hurricanes.
Very important for the Chiefs, I thought.
They've managed to get some points.
But it was important even more so to get a performance going.
Yeah.
And D-Mac back at 15, scoring a baller try. Yeah. That's
a picture of good Chiefs.
Huge for them.
As opposed to him at 10 floundering bad Chiefs.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, they have a lot of 10s in there as well, so it seems baffling.
Exactly. And it's a good little pivot for them. Maybe they'll have a bit more game to them for the rest of the year then. Because
it was a shocking start.
Doing that to the Canes is impressive, because the Canes are no mugs.
Exactly. They're dangerous.
They got some shots off themselves.
They did. Beautiful try. Lovely finish on that one.
That was Cousins' try. That was something else.
Sliding in and just, a little pose for the camera. Love it.
Yeah, that was great.
Nothing clunky about that finish.
Good to see Bodie back in town doing his thing.
True
as well.
Too.
Things are moving slowly enough in this comp, but slowly building, and pictures are starting to form. And Canes are going to be up there.
Canes are going to be up there for sure. Yeah, Stormer. It remains to be seen who's going to emerge from the SAFA conference as.
I think the Bulls are the ones.
I think the Bulls are the ones too, but they're perennial disappointments as far as actually being competitive at the business end of the season. So I'll hold my breath on that. It's hard to say. Early on, we were asked earlier on a few videos ago about who we predict for the playoffs, and it's just hard to say at this point, other than Crusaders will be there. I think the Lions might not. They might miss out. But then I don't know. Their fixture list is such that they'll probably
that game against the Rebels, which you can pivot to. I know it was the last game as opposed to the first game. Screw chronology. That game against the Rebels, that they were opened up in the first half and then responded with a man down. I didn't actually get a chance to see it, but what I will say is there was some complaints about the ref and whatever, but also just the altitude advantage is so great, and it's just. Like they just seem to just get all the breaks. Like there's a few teams in rugby like where I just put on a partisan hat and dislike, but the Lions just get all the breaks. It's weird. It's a very strange thing.
I know it really does irk me. The fact that this season they actually do have to go to New Zealand. Small mercies, but like in seasons gone by, getting all the way to the final without ever going to New Zealand and then playing the final at home.
Exactly. And it's just it's a massive advantage being used to altitude, and then a team is not used to altitude.
Well, the amount of times that teams actually blow them away in the first half and then fade. It's like it's so tangible.
It's a familiar picture.
It's a very familiar picture, and the same thing happened to the Rebels. Rebels, to their credit,
Quade, after such a good game,
he had been playing well, but a terrible error. All he had to do was kick it out, which shows a bit of a lack of understanding of the rules, or certainly in that moment, not because he went down to try and touch it out, didn't have to do that.
Yeah, as soon as the ball's in the in goal, you have a 22 once it goes dead, no matter who puts it dead.
Indeed, and he should have known that and should have been not so casual when he's like
needless to say.
Some of well, I know. Well, like some of the casual nature of some of his play is great. Like even the way he dotted down his try super near the end line, like that's all great fun. But it's when it comes back to bite you, it's in that instance as well.
And to be honest with
losing
you,
of a
like,
game.
It's great. It's good to see a flowy man playing flowy footy, but he should have put that ball down earlier. It was too risky.
Yeah,
and like there, you're starting to see just little pictures of how things could go wrong if he is the man that Michael Cheika puts his faith in.
I wouldn't put my faith in him, but I would have him on the bench.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Even for the Rebels going forward as well.
Bring that call back. He's there for it, but
if
you can go to the World Cup and it's all going wrong with Foley, chuck a Quade in.
Yeah, for sure.
Like there's merit in that for sure.
And listen, it was a victory for the Lions anyway in the end. The Stormers did the Jags convincingly.
Despite the Jags got a nice try early on, and then shipped load of floundering horrible, like some of their maul defences so soft.
Khaleesi just ran into the great grass sea that was there next to the maul instead of a pillar and dawdle it down. That was good to see him get that try.
It was, I'm always rooting for Khaleesi in any kind of thing. I really like the guy. I love the way he plays the game as well. He's super attritional and just works very, very hard as well. Like, and
I also just remember him suffering in Alistair Cassia's Springbok team as the only boy making a play. And it's good to see him have friends making plays around him these days.
Yes, indeed.
They
were just much too much for the Jags. The Jags were a level or 2 or 3 levels below the intensity.
There's such a weird dynamic going on over there. They're not quite committed to what's going on around them.
It doesn't feel like
their fringe defense isn't great, and so they're gone. I think looking at that South conference, but then Stormers, like, they both have a game in hand, but everyone's on 13 points at the top of that conference.
It's mad, isn't it? It's weird.
With the Sharks behind, also with a game in hand, behind them. So in fact, the Stormers have a game in hand. So it's the only team that's played the extra game. The Stormers are level with the Bulls. 4-1-3. The Lions have played the extra game.
Right.
So that the Lions are due a bye week. But it was a disappointing one from the Jaguars, who are now out. But good for the Stormers, and there's a lot of competitiveness going on in that South African conference, and I'm looking forward to them playing the Kiwis. Obviously, the other sort of couple of games to round up the weekend, Brumbies did Waratahs in a game that was on. It
was also on. Some floundersome play. What is the Aussie conference like for some ridiculous thing? That first try, the Hooper try. What is going on? First of all, a terrible kick was the first thing that happened, rebounding off the post. But then it bounces. He claims the ball, which is like good hunger.
Michael Hooper gets the ball.
Can't fault any of that. But then 3 men converge on him and let him go. No tackles made. 3 men on him. No tackle made.
Yeah, it was almost like they thought he was on the ground, and you see a bit of that these days where a guy gets to the deck and the ref calls release and then he gets up again. But that wasn't even that. I don't know what they thought was happening, but he just gathered it and scored.
Yeah, some
good hustle,
really
Michael Hooper
plays. But then, like, some of the Brumbies tries, this is simple balls that were like, we were complaining all through the Six Nations about Ireland not showing more versatility than the playing off 9 kind of buzz, because it was just being telegraphed and stopped. But like, there was no line speed. All they did for one of the tries was hit 3 short balls off 9, and then on the third one he was over the line, and it's just like, where's the line speed? There's no press.
The other 2 were mauls as well, and
very Brumbies.
Waratahs scored another try with a nice little Israel Folau play out the back door. Important to note though that they ended up on 13 points, and there was a lot of missed kicking going on from Mr. Bernard Foley, who we're leading on at 10, are we?
Seems so. Yeah, it's questionable.
The other game of the weekend was the Sunwolves heartbreak against the Reds.
Poor Sunwolves in front of that full stadium and all.
That was great to see, compared to the nonsense that does be going on in Singapore in that empty stadium with the wolf howling microphone.
Yeah,
that's Japan. Let them just be a Japanese franchise. I don't know what kind of money Singaporeans are pumping into it, but there's nobody showing up to the games.
Yeah.
Unless they're just like giving you free money to have games in an empty stadium in Singapore, which I don't know if that's the case. It could be the case, but it seems to me like that franchise belongs to Japan.
Yeah.
Great crowd.
Yeah.
They loved it, and they played a brilliant game of footy, and then just couldn't see it home in the end. The Reds got it done.
The crowd, like what I love about Japanese crowds is they're super attentive to the game, like similar to actually Irish crowds, something we give credit for, where it's like when something happens, doesn't have to be a score or anything, just a little moment, and you hear like ooh from the crowd. Like there was that line out play that like nearly went wrong, but then they gathered, and there was just like
it's actually like when negative play is actually like a loud scream from them. It's like No, they're great. They get the game and they're responding to it, and they came out in great numbers to watch a banging game of footy. Just a shame that they couldn't get it done in the end. And the Reds just with a little more nous and a little more hustle
and a bit more physicality. Yeah, which is very often where it boils down.
Tony Brown is doing a good job with that Sunwolves team. They're playing good footy. Dan Pryor in there is helping a lot. They've linking up really nicely with one another in the wide channels and looking for tries all day.
And Brad Thorne, on the other hand, like whether it'll be enough this year or not remains to be seen, but he's definitely implemented some changes because they're a new team entirely, and possibly for the better, probably for the better. I don't know. It's tough to say. It's definitely prettier and to watch some of the Quade stuff, but I don't know.
I think it's for the worse. I think they're going to finish bottom of the Aussie Conference. Yeah, I think they're other than maybe the Sunwolves. I think they're going to lose to those other Australian teams because their defence in amidst it all isn't great. For all of their physicality, their defence isn't great, and they're just going to ship tries and not be able to respond with enough tries.
It's probably fair. It will remain to be seen. But like one thing is that he's definitely been successful in implementing this change so far. Because the style of play is completely new, the identity of the team is completely new,
and they do seem to buy into it.
They do.
The team that he has.
Exactly. They seem to be playing for him. So. We'll see. See. You're suspecting that it won't, like, because the Rebels, to their credit as well, are showing a lot.
They just got a lot of Aussie boys in there now.
They do.
You got your Quade and your Genny and your Maddox and your Reece Hodge and you got Higginbotham even. No, Higginbotham was with the is he with the Rebels still? Who did he make that class play on where he held him up over the line?
Can't recall now. Damn it, we were just watching it. It was a brilliant play, by the way, just to haul him back over the line. That might have been. Was it in the Brumbies game? No, it wasn't.
I think it was the Sunwolves. I think he's for the Reds. I think Higginbotham's for the Reds.
Right. Yeah. He's a good player, though.
Totally.
He's a physical boy. I love it. I love seeing some defensive plays like that.
I think Higginbotham's a guy they should perhaps go with in the World Cup. I think.
For sure. I think a bit more
great.
But
pivoting on to this week's games, the pick of them, just looking through here, I think is the just the beginning of what you're starting to see, which is South African teams playing Kiwi teams, which is a good
Bulls
picture.
Bulls
Chiefs, tough challenge for the rebounding Chiefs, big time. And Hurricanes v Stormers out in Wellington is going to be a tough one.
For the Stormers. They'll need to bring that maul. Bring that maul and see if they can disrupt.
Some Khaleesi plays. Get your Peter Steff stealing some lineouts and make it a big physical one. Swirling wind out in Wellington as well, in Cape Town. So it's like there's potential there. But those are the funnest games, I think, New Zealand and South African derbies, and especially with the rebounding South Africans. It's a good little benchmark for both teams. Because if the Bulls get scared by the Chiefs, there'll be learnings there, and if the Stormers get blown away by the Hurricanes, there'll be
I'd say
here come New Zealand.
I fear for the Waratahs against the Crusaders, especially with the Crusaders missing a week this week. Probably going to be absolutely bullying to get back out.
Yeah, they're probably in a weird headspace.
It'll be a response from a team like that. I think there'll be a response. And I think that the Waratahs will be just the speed bump they need to run over. I can't foresee it going well for them. They haven't shown enough. The Waratahs really, they're way too soft in defence, and Crusaders are far too ruthless. I similarly think the Sunwolves will probably struggle against the Lions. I would love to see them take that scalp. It's in Singapore. Damn. So empty stadium, no support. They may struggle against the Lions there, because the Lions are well accustomed to playing in empty
home
stadiums.
Weeks, except we have to do an unbelievable amount of travel.
Indeed,
we're travelling from our home stadium on one hemisphere and all the way to the other. That's just crap.
It seems crazy. Yeah.
How can you coach a team when that's here? What the hell are they supposed to do?
I don't know. Feel bad for them though. But what else is going on? The Blues are playing the Highlanders in
Kiwi derby,
consequential derby for both of those teams. They could both use a win.
Landers are looking to stake a claim as the other team in New Zealand besides the Hurricanes and the Satyrs. Blues are just looking to get on some
get on the board.
Horse,
yeah,
you know, here.
Yeah. And who else? The Reds are playing
The Brumbies.
The Brumbies. Yeah, in an Aussie derby.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's going to be a curious physical game.
It is.
It's
they're
probably going to be an ugly game.
And
with errors.
I know. Yeah, not the prettiest one. Sharks v Rebels though, that has potential.
Yes.
Given the Rebels showing that the weekend over the Lions or against the Lions, they didn't quite get it done. Altitude won't be a factor this time.
They're buzzing for a victory over
exactly.
in South Africa.
Yeah,
they wouldn't want to go empty-handed.
Exactly.
And the Sharks need to win as well. They have a game in hand, but they're falling behind after a good start.
Yeah, so both teams with something to play for. Questionable, like it's at these levels. It's good that we're getting to see these derbies because, like, with the Aussie conference,
these non-derbies,
or well, not non-derbies, I should say, because the Aussie
cross-conferential matchups.
Yeah, because the Aussie conference being so disappointing for the last few years still has some signs of being loose at times, and it's nice to get them tested in other arenas like South Africa. And I think the Sharks are a good matchup for that Rebels team. It should be an interesting, enterprising game of footy.
Yeah,
I would watch that one.
Couldn't agree more.
Thank you very much for watching that video. If you're new here, please like and subscribe down below, and leave a comment as well, because we enjoy the chat and conversation. Thank you.